All right. So that means that there are jobs right now, but people don't have the required skills. So that is a typical situation of unemployability. Okay. Now, one interesting thing about programming is that you can actually apply it in any field of study. If I may ask, Fuseni, what do you study?
Oh,
What are you into?
currently, I'm a physics teacher in a senior high school.
Oh, fantastic. That's great. So you see, one of the things that you can do is use it to organize your probably terminal reports. Okay, you could create scripts, feed in the data, and it arranges marks, so your weighted averages and all those stuff. You can automate them. You don't have to be sitting down. How many students do you teach?
Over 150 students.
Exactly. So just imagine if you have to sit down and mark or prepared, do these calculations for what 70%, what 30% for student. I mean, it's a lot of time, right? But then if you're able to manage with the marking, all you have to do with the program is to key in the students' names and their marks, right? The system can actually do the grading and whatever you have to do for you. And it could do that in a split of a second, something that would take you hours. Okay, so it is actually good you are doing this. And as a physics teacher, later I'll show you how I'll guide you through or point you to some materials that you can use to do animations. Okay, so you can script your animations. And you see, if you're able to develop these tools using programming, that you can change the experience that your students have in class, because you can animate some of these things for them to really see what is happening instead of the abstract stuff that we do. Okay, I'm a physicist myself. So Hills, what are you into?
Oh, let me step in for a minute before she comes.
Okay.
I actually met you in KNUS. You may not remember me, but you were my 1 year senior. I was in meteorology and climate science.
Oh, I see. Let me see your face well. Probably I remember you. Oh, okay. Yeah, I remember you. That's
Okay.
true. That's true. Fantastic. Fantastic. All right. Hills, what are you also into?
I'm a dietitian. I'm into diet and a teacher.
Okay, so for your case, for instance, you could probably design a platform where you could give information or people you can consult for people, right? And as a teacher, same thing applies to you as I gave to Husseini. You get a point. So no matter, irrespective of whatever you are doing, irrespective of whatever you are doing, programming is essential. It's an essential tool that could boost your productivity in any way that you want. All right. Now, there are some myths or things that people say about programming that I want to debunk today. You know, human beings, we tend to give excuses and come up with a whole lot of excuses when we don't want to do something, right? Now, there are probably a couple of things you hear people, if you haven't already, that you hear people say about programming, but I'm going to debunk a few of them. Now, the first one is that there is age limit. So I've come across a couple of people, we talk about programming and they're like, oh, at this age. You see, one thing you should know is that programming does not have any age barriers or age limit, irrespective. So far as the person can read, write, and do a little bit of mathematics, if the person can be taught programming. Okay. Yes, there are levels of programming. We have the beginner level and advanced, and you could do a lot with even the beginner level of programming. Okay, so there is no age limit or an age below or above. Of course, so like I said, the defining factor is that the person can do a little bit of mathematics, okay? So you see that it is not the age limit that is restricting, but the fact that programming is mathematics in nature. So if the person is mathematics fluent and can also read, then the person can actually learn programming. Okay. All right. The next thing I want to talk about is operating systems for programming. Now, if you go online right now, you search which operating system is better for programming, you're going to see a whole war of fight on this thing. Please don't fall prey to those nonsense. Okay. Any program, any operating system that you feel comfortable with, if you're a Linux user, use your Linux. If you are a Windows user, use your Windows. If you're a Mac user, use your Mac. Okay. Don't let some of these things, disturb or waste your time in which level operating system should I use. They are just bogus stuff that you shouldn't ever waste up any time on. Now, the last thing I'll talk about is most often people think programming is just about writing code. So some students that have come into contact with, the moment you give them programming topic, after introducing them to programming, the moment you give them programming topics or activity, the first thing they do is to pick their computer. Okay, but you see, if you really look at it, programming is just like 20% of the whole software development thing. Okay, programming is more of a mental ability or a mental activity than just writing codes. The coding aspect is just implementation. Is that okay? For instance, Husseini.
Yes, please.
Yeah, if you can speak English, right?
Yes, I can.
So if I ask you to describe yourself, can you do that in English?
I can do that.
Fantastic. Okay. So I can say that because you can describe yourself in English, you know English, right?
Yes, you can say that.
Now, can you describe where I am sitting right now?
Because I'm not mentally there, I may not be able to describe it very well.
So will it be right for me to say that you don't know English because you can't describe where I am sitting now?
No, that would be right.
Will it be right for me to say that you don't know English because you can't describe where I am sitting?
No, that would not be right.
Fantastic. Okay. Now, why am I saying this? You see, there are two separate things that we are talking about here. We have programming and we have programming language. Is that okay? Programming in itself is an art. It is not bounded or dependent on any other language. So you see, if I could describe myself in Chi, because I could also speak English, I could say the same thing in English. And because I can also speak French, I can describe myself in French, right? In the end, what is changing? What is changing is how it is written, okay? Because the syntax of French is different from English and from Chi. But the idea that I'm trying to put across, which is describing myself, is fundamental to all. Is that okay? So that means that the moment you cannot understand or think about what you want to do, irrespective of how good you know a programming language, it will not be useful. Is that okay? So programming is much more a mental activity than just writing codes. Before you can start writing the codes, you have to conceive that thing and know how to go about it mentally before you even take your computer to input some codes. Now, I told you that I've been programming for about 14 years, and you cannot travel this journey without picking up some experience. So as part of the orientations, every time I teach people programming, I share with them some of the things, because usually people come across and they want to be like me overnight, but that's not how it works, okay? But with proper motivation and orientation, you will pay the price of time and effort to get there. So the first thing that I've realized is that mostly people actually quit the programming before their learning goals are achieved. Okay, so for instance, today you guys have come in new to programming probably, and probably you were expecting to be doing some coding today, but unfortunately for you, here I am doing some philosophical stuff. Okay. In the beginning, it will always be easy, but the truth is things get difficult to understand along the way, okay? But what I want to assure you is that so far as you stick to the plan, you will achieve your learning goals, okay? But what I know is there are a lot of people who attempted programming and could not proceed further. So just know that. Now, why do you want to learn programming? Okay, anytime you want to do anything, you should find a very strong motivation. So usually I ask people, why do you want to learn programming? Now, initially when I asked you guys, did I ask, you wanted to know more? Well, at least for now, that is understandable. Your curiosity is driving you to patronize this training section, right? But after this session, I want you to redefine your motivation for whatever you want to do this week, okay? So always define why you want to do that thing. So the first thing, why do you want to learn programming? Now, the first thing that I need you to find is to get a stronger motivation. You see, if your motivation is not strong enough, then you are likely to quit before the whole thing ends, okay? So I need you to sit back and reflect on this. After today's session, after the orientation, you should have a much clearer perspective, and you should define your reasons for joining this training session. Okay, still on my experience, the JD, like I said, is not a sometimes, it's definitely going to be frustrating and challenging. In fact, there was a time I spent a whole week trying to figure out how to do something. In fact, I have actually spent a whole month trying to figure out how to do something before. I wrote codes, rewrote them several times, many times. But you see, it is all part of the thing. Okay, so I just want to bring them to your attention before you even get there. Okay, I want to get you. It's not going to be that simple. Okay, it's not going to be that simple. Now, just a moment. What the picture you see? Can somebody describe the picture you see and tell me what is probably going on? What can you make of the picture you are seeing on the screen? Yes, what can you make? There is a zebra and a lion drinking water, right? What can you make? What lessons can you draw from this picture? Yes. Oh, we have a lot of slides to go through, so let's hurry up, okay?
It's probably the lion is not hungry, or the lion needs the zebra's vote to win an election.
Oh, you definitely sat in my class before. Okay, all right. So you see, naturally, these are two enemies, right? These are two enemies, not necessarily enemies. So the lion is the zebra's enemy. Why? Because the lion is a predator, the zebra is the prey, right? So how on earth would a zebra even try to join a lion at the poolside? Okay, so like Husseini said, this could happen in the political world, right? So probably the lion is contested for presidency in the animal kingdom, and he needs the zebra's vote. So things like that, you know, politically is possible, right? That can make the prey and the predator dine. Another thing could be that the lion is actually just, you know, it's drinking water. So we can assume that it's just leaving a meal, and well, if it is food, there is no need hunting, right? But there is also a third option, which could be the fact that the zebra at this moment is very hungry, very thirsty, and rather sees the thirst as a danger to it more than the lion. At least with the lion pouncing on it, it could run away, right? But the test is internal. It can't do anything about it than to quench it, okay? So this is something I want to use as a means of telling you to have a very stronger motivation for doing this, else you will quit. So you see, if the zebra's test for water is not strong, it would probably stay somewhere and wait for the lion to finish, but it is drinking from the water with the lion. So that means that it has a much more stronger motivation to do this, because this is danger zone. You get the point. So before you even attend this program, before we start to write codes tomorrow, I need you to define your motivation concretely, so that when things start to get tough, you will only remain tougher and not to quit. Okay. All right. So if you don't have a good reason to do this, then you are definitely going to give up along the way. Okay. All right. There's another picture. Anything else? This time I want Hills, give me what lessons or what can you say about this picture?
It's a lady and a guy,
okay,
who seem happy.
Mm-hmm.
You can see that they're in the air, but somehow the lady looks, that's a scared or something.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Fusini, any ideas, any tickets on this?
It looks like love at first sight kind of scene. Maybe
Okay.
the guy looks really in love with the lady.
All right. Okay. So thank you all. You see, you know what? Something called adrenaline, right? Adrenaline can really make you do things that you can't do in normal sense, right? This picture actually doesn't really paint what I wanted to put across, but well, it still does the thing. You see, this lady could be weighing the same as the guy, right? But because of this love thing, in fact, if the lady was even 3 times her size right now, the guy could still lift him up because he's full of love, and at that point, he seems invincible. Okay, all right. So whenever your motivation is stronger, trust me, you can do anything. Okay, whenever your motivation is stronger, you can what? Do anything. And usually I advise project-based motivations. Okay, be specific with what you want to do. For instance, you want to learn programming to develop video games. So that means that you are a video game enthusiast and you want to learn the skill of programming to apply it there. Or you are a teacher, you want to learn how to develop animations to teach your children. Or you are a dietitian, you want to build a consultancy platform that people can consult on their diet and all those stuff. Okay, so whenever you have this kind of direct and specific mentality or drive, it helps you know exactly what to go in for. Okay, but like I said, at this moment, you are all kind of new to this probably. So yeah, it's nice. It's okay to have vague or ambiguous ideas. But like I said, after this session, I need you to sit down tomorrow. I'm going to ask these questions again. What is your motivation? I want a much more refined, direct, and stronger motivation for joining this week's session. Okay, because technically or frankly speaking, that 60 cedis you are paying is nothing. When I do these trainings for corporations and institutions, I charge more than that. Trust me, I charge so much. But this is one of the means of helping build Africa, because I believe we all have a part to play, and then we all have to commit to it. Okay, so I need you to define your motivation, define the reason, get a specific, make your objectives specific for joining this lesson, so that by the end you can know that yes, you really achieved your objectives or not. Okay, you have to be able to quantify it. Now, another thing that you should always do is to define a clear goal. Like I just said, you have to zero in, you narrow your, instead of having I just want to learn programming. That is not good enough, okay? But programming, like I said, is a tool. You can use it for anything. And with programming, some people are doing data science, some people are doing machine learning, some people are doing game development. Okay, so you have to define what you want to do with it by focusing on one thing that you want. Okay, so focusing is very, very important because it also helps you to learn incrementally. Okay. Now, anytime your motivation is vague, then you become tossed. You don't know where to go. And if you sit in a car not knowing where to go, you actually get nowhere. Okay, so always remember this. And still on this thing, you see, vagueness doesn't help a beginner. For instance, in this picture, you can see that there are many points or targets available. So another question is, which targets do you have to? Okay, so at this point or after this, I need you to clear everything and leave just one target, just the one thing that you think is your priority and for which you are joining this session, okay? So that you can quantify your experience in this program. Is that okay? So for instance, if you want to go into data science or machine learning, then you know, with this in mind, you know even the kind of computer programming languages you should learn, because the thing is, some computer programming languages are easy to use for certain things than others, okay? And when it comes to data science, for instance, R and Python are very good, and fortunately, you guys are learning Python in this particular training session, okay? All right, so still on the journey, be focused. Focusing on this sense also means that have a target that you want to achieve from this program. Is that okay? Have a target that you want to achieve so that you can know which path to treat, because without destination, there is no reaching, and without a path, there is no reaching what? A destination. Ebenezer, welcome back. Why did it take so long? Okay. All right, now, one thing I need everybody to understand is that you are not here to learn how to code. In fact, this training is not to teach you how to code. Is that okay? The idea of this training is to help you solve problems using code. So this session is going to be project oriented. You pick a project, and by solving that project or problem, I'll use it to outline and explain the concept of programming to you, okay? So we are not going to learn how to code. We are going to learn how to solve problems with code, because come to think about it, no company ever employs people because they can code. Companies employ, the main reason companies employ programmers is because those people can solve a problem they have using code. So these are two separate things. The fact that you know how to code does not mean you can solve every problem with code, okay? Because remember, I said that coding is just like 20% of the whole activity. The rest of the 80% is a mental activity. So if I'm doing data science, the fact that I can program in Python does not mean I can do data science. I have to understand some statistics. I have to know some mathematics. You get it? So I have to know these things. So by knowing these things, there will be problems, and I will solve those problems using code. So this training session is not to teach you how to code, or you are not here to learn how to code, but you are here to learn how to solve problems with code. And I think project-based approach is always the right way to do this, okay? So this is what, by the fact that you want to solve a problem with code, it will help you actually do this, because until your problem goes, you be dedicated or committed to learning, okay? And so, like I said, employers don't employ people who can code. They employ people who can solve problems with code. And this is the mindset that I need you to know. And it's also the mindset that you need to know when you try to learn programming, okay? All right, now, what can you tell me from the picture that you are seeing? Everybody should give me a take on this. What can you say about the picture that you are seeing? Yes. Ebenezer, sorry, you missed a lot, but then the video will be available. Okay, so don't worry.
Oh, you.
Yeah, so what can you make of this picture? What do you see? Just tell me what you see and what you think is happening, and let's continue.
I can see a seamstress cutting a dress.
Okay, so there is a seamstress in there. Okay, and is that all you see about the seamstress? Okay, so what else can any other person see? Yes.
Okay, sir.
Yeah.
I can see a shoemaker, trying to cut some leather. That's it.
Okay. Hills, are you still there with us?
Yeah.
So what can you can see a barber?
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't hear what you said. Well,
They are all doing some skill. A barber is cropping hair. Then there is a seamstress cutting stuff, cloth.
Fantastic. Now let me ask this: what is similar among all of them? What do all of them have in common?
Okay, they all have some tool that they are using to do the operation.
What tool?
Scissors.
So we all agree that they are all using scissors, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So do you think the seamstress can do what the barber is doing?
No.
Why? She knows how to use her scissors.
But measurement was but entirely different for barbers.
Okay. Any other takes? Okay. Okay. So that is very excellent. Okay. So you see, we are all here learning Python, right? But in the end, somebody will be using a Python for data science. Another person will be using a Python for machine learning. Another person may be using a Python for game development. Another person will be using a Python for maybe simulations, and another maybe for, let's say, web application design. But they are all using the same tool, which is what? Python, right? Good. So you see, this is what I am saying, that learn using application first approach. Now, assuming you wanted to be a barber, but ended up using how to use scissors from a seamstress, would you know how to shave hair with the scissors because you know how to use it? The answer is no. Is that okay? So programming is very broad. So by defining your target, that same tool could be used for many different things, and many people could use that same tool to do different things. Is that okay? So in this particular 1 week session, we are going to use the application first approach. So we'll pick a problem and try to solve the problem. Now, in trying to solve the problem, the necessary or the required programming concept would be explained. So once we explain it, then we will also use it to solve the problem. And I think this would be the best approach for you to really grab and enjoy these lessons. Okay, so always learn a new skill with a problem to solve in mind. Is that okay? Talked about it. Computer is it's a tool. A lot of people, irrespective of the field that you operate in, you can what? Use the computer. Okay. So the key thing we'll be doing here is learning how to solve problems using coding. We are going to learn how to solve problems using programming. Okay, not the other way around. We are not just there to learn programming. We're going to learn how to solve problems using programming. Okay, now one more thing. What do you see in here? On what do you see in the picture?
I can see a quick that is purposely meant for cutting something.
Okay, so we all agree that what we have in the picture are cutting tools, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so Hills, tell me, which of these will you use to chop onions?
The knife.
Why not the dormer machine or the chainsaw?
That one will be meant for timber.
But it's a cutting machine. It's a cutting tool, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
But
Go on.
though they are all cutting tools, basically meant for different things.
Okay. All right. Ebenezer, your turn. Which of them will you use to cut a very big timber?
Okay, so I'll be using a chainsaw.
Why not the blade?
Oh, please,
It's
the
also
blade
a
is very
cutting
small.
tool.
The blade, yeah, it's true, but the blade cannot do that way. It's very
Okay.
small.
Fantastic. Husseini, which of them will you use to weed?
I will use a cutlass
Why not the chainsaw
because
or the knife?
the idea of the chainsaw was to cut bigger things.
But
It
it is a
has,
cutting tool, right?
has its own dimensions. And you
Okay.
can't use it like killing an ant with a sledgehammer or an armament for elephant.
Okay, all right. So just imagine one day you are in your house and you hear somebody start a chainsaw in your kitchen and you call to ask, hey, what's going on? He says, oh, I'm chopping some onions. What will you say? What will you say next?
You would think the person mentally is not sound.
Yeah, the head is sick, not the person, not the body, but the head, right? Okay, so what am I trying to illustrate with this? What I'm trying to tell you is that it is not okay to know how to use the tool. Now, in the previous slide, we saw that the seamstress, the shoemaker, the barber, the kid, they were all, even the cook, they were all using the scissors, right? But that does not mean the seamstress can shave hair with the scissors. Okay, so it is not just okay to know how to use the tool, but one important thing that you also need to know is to know when to use the tool. So although all these things here are cutting tools, you don't use chainsaw to shave your fingernails, and you don't use blade to cut timber, or use the knife to weed. Well, you can try that, but it's going to cost you more. Is that okay? So it is not just enough to say that, oh, I know how to use this tool. You also have to know when. That's why there is a saying that use the right tool for what? The right job. Okay, so I already asked this. Now let's look at the next picture. What do you see here and what do you make out of this? Yes.
I can see a child trying to use an axe to chop.
Okay. So now, what can you make out of it?
I don't think he's matured enough to use that.
It's not matured enough to use the axe. Fantastic. Any other suggestions? Any other?
Okay, sir.
Okay,
I can say the child, the baby will not have the skill. I mean, he may not know how to use it.
So what do you think can go wrong?
Maybe he might hurt himself, or the job can be, in the end he will not be able to do the job.
Okay. Hills, any ideas?
They said it's
Okay. All right. So whenever, the reason I'm advocating for project-based, because it will first help you to keep track of whatever you are learning. Okay. Now, there is something I call beginner's impatience. Now, a couple of times people come around, they see the things I'm doing, they get enthused and they are all excited. They want to do it too, right? But one problem I always find among them is that they always want to be like me, like overnight or like in 2 days. So it's not like they want a shortcut. Okay, so you see, this kid probably saw his dad chopping some wood with the axe and, oh, okay, my dad is doing it, I can. But you see, the axe will probably be heavier than the kid. That means the kid can end up hurting himself. Is that okay? So programming beginners impatience is a very deadly thing. Now, if you don't get somebody to nurture you through, you would definitely not learn programming right, and you get stuck along the way. So what I want to tell you out of this is it takes patience. Is that okay? You will not develop the skill in this week. In fact, I never make adverts to teach people programming. This is a startup lesson. My duty here is to help you know how to start up to learn programming. The rest will always be on you. What we will do after this week will not make you a professional programmer. It will help you know the path to take, and you would have to build on from there. Okay, so know that these things take time. You come across errors that will take, just don't give up no matter what, and pursue. Is that okay? Fortunately, right now, there are a lot of things on the internet, a lot of help we can get. Data is available, just that it's a little bit expensive. But when I was learning in 2008, when I want to do something on the internet, I have to carry my desktop to the cafe, do it, come back with a lot of viruses, a whole lot of mess. Right now, it's quite easy. Stack Overflow or other communities online can always help you. All you have to do is to ask the question. And you also have me around to ask questions. But mostly, if you ask me a question and I know that this is something you can easily get answers for when you Google, I'll ask you to Google. So beware of beginners' impatience, okay? Now, you need to have all these things right, because it is your choices will also influence the right programming language that you should use, okay? Because like I said, there are hundreds of programming languages, and each of them was created to solve a particular problem. So the programming languages have their ups and downs, or their strengths and weaknesses. Is that okay? So that is to say that some programming languages